Level 1. The Dreamer. You're 8 years old. There's a news broadcast on television. Federal agents in dark jackets with yellow letters across the back are walking out of a building carrying boxes of evidence. The reporter is saying something about a major investigation that took 3 years to complete. 3 years. You don't fully understand what that means yet, but something about it catches you. Not the drama of it. Something quieter. The idea that somewhere, people spent 3 years working on one thing. Methodical, patient, invisible. Your dad explains that those are FBI agents, Federal Bureau of Investigation. They investigate the most serious crimes in the country. Terrorism, kidnapping, espionage. You ask him what espionage means. He tells you. You go to bed that night, thinking about it. The next day at school, your teacher asks what everyone wants to be when they grow up. Kids say, doctor, astronaut, soccer player. You say FBI agent. The teacher nods and moves on. But you meant it in a way the others didn't mean theirs. You go to the library that weekend and find books about the FBI. You read about famous cases, about how agents are trained at a place called Quantico in Virginia. You write the word Quantico on a piece of paper and keep it in your desk drawer. Every week, you go back to that library. You read everything they have. You start paying attention to the news differently. When a story comes on about a federal investigation, you don't change the channel. You watch carefully. You try to understand what the agents actually did, how they built the case, how long it took, what evidence they gathered. Most kids your age can't sit still for 10 minutes. You can sit with a case file for hours. You're 8 years old, and you already know where you're going. Level 2. The Applicant. You're 23. You have a college degree in criminal justice. You're in good physical shape. You have no criminal record. You meet the basic requirements. You submit your application online, and then you wait. Weeks pass. Then you get an invitation to take Phase 1, a multiple-choice test covering logic, situational judgment, and cognitive ability. You study for 2 months. You pass. Months later, you get invited to Phase 2, a written exam and a panel interview with structured questions, each answer evaluated on specific criteria. You prepare obsessively. You record yourself answering questions and watch the recordings back. You research every possible scenario they might present. You practice until your answers are clear and specific and confident without being arrogant. You pass again. Now the real process begins. A single-scope background investigation. Investigators talk to everyone you've ever known. Your neighbors, your college professors, your old employers. People you haven't spoken to in years receive phone calls about you. They ask about your finances, your relationships, your character, your habits. Every part of your life is examined. Then comes the polygraph. You sit in a room with electrodes attached to your body and answer questions while a machine measures your physiological responses. It takes hours. The examiner asks about drug use, financial crimes, contact with foreign nationals, loyalty to the United States. You answer truthfully to every question. You have nothing to hide. That doesn't make it comfortable. After the polygraph, you wait again. Months pass. 6 months. A year. The background investigation takes as long as it takes. You keep your life completely clean. You don't do anything that could complicate the process. You work a regular job during the day and study at night. You run every morning. You stay ready. Finally, the letter arrives. You have been selected to attend the FBI Academy at Quantico, Virginia. You start in 8 weeks. You pull the piece of paper from your desk drawer, the one with Quantico written on it from when you were 8 years old. You hold it for a long time. Level 3. The New Agent. You're 25. The FBI Academy is 21 weeks of the most demanding training you have ever experienced. You live on campus. You wake before dawn. You run. You lift. You train in defensive tactics until your body aches in places you didn't know could ache. You study federal law, evidence collection, interrogation techniques, surveillance methods, cyber investigation. You qualify on the firearms range with multiple weapons. You practice shooting until accuracy becomes automatic. The Hogan's Alley training village is where it all comes together. A fake town on the academy grounds where trainees run live scenarios, bank robberies, hostage situations, drug operations. Everything feels real because it's designed to feel real. You make mistakes in Hogan's Alley. Everyone does. The instructors debrief every scenario in detail, pointing out every decision that cost you time or safety or the integrity of the operation. You write it all down. You don't make the same mistake twice. The pressure is constant. Trainees who can't handle it wash out. You don't wash out. You graduate on a Friday morning. You raise your right hand and take the oath of office. You are now a special agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. You receive your credentials and your service weapon. You hold them and think about the 8-year-old in the library. You're assigned to a field office in a city you've never lived in. You pack everything you own into your car and drive there. You report to your supervisor on a Monday morning. She hands you a stack of case files and tells you to read them over the weekend. Welcome to the Bureau. Get to work. Level 4. The Special Agent. You're 27. 2 years in the field. You've worked bank fraud cases, public corruption investigations, and one counter-terrorism matter that required 18 months of surveillance before a single arrest was made. You understand now why the FBI takes so long. Because doing it right takes time. Because evidence has to be bulletproof. Because the cases that make it to federal court have to survive aggressive defense attorneys and meticulous judges. You've testified in federal court twice. The first time you were nervous. Your hands were steady, but your voice came out slightly wrong and you knew it. And the defense attorney knew it too. The second time you were ready. You've worked with local law enforcement, DEA, ATT, Homeland Security. You've learned that the Bureau operates differently from every other agency. Slower in some ways, more thorough, less interested in the quick win, and more interested in the complete dismantling of whatever it's investigating. You've also learned the cost. You've missed 2 Christmases, a close friend's wedding. Your girlfriend left because she said she never knew when you'd be home or what you could tell her about your day. You understood why she left. You sat with it for a long time. You also understood that you couldn't change what you were. This is not a job you can put down at the end of the day. You carry it home. You carry it to dinner. You carry it on vacation if you manage to take one. You are an FBI agent. That is not something you do. It is something you are. Level 5. The Senior Agent. You're 34, 9 years in. You've worked across 3 field offices, 2 task forces, and 1 undercover operation that required you to spend 8 months living under a different name in a different city. 8 months of being someone else, of watching what you said, who you talked to, where you went, what you bought, who you called. Every moment calculated, every relationship managed. The operation resulted in 17 federal indictments. When it was over, you drove back to your real city and sat in your real apartment, and it took several weeks before you fully felt like yourself again. Your own name sounded slightly strange for a while. Nobody outside the Bureau knew what you had done. Nobody could know. That's part of the job. You carry things that you can't share. You've seen things that change how you understand the world. Not in a dramatic way, in a quiet, permanent way. Your family notices that you've changed, but can't name exactly how. You're harder to surprise. More patient, better at reading rooms and people and situations. You notice exits. You notice who looks at you and who deliberately doesn't. You've also developed a kind of humor that other agents understand immediately, and civilians sometimes find unsettling. It's how you process things. It's how everyone in this work processes things. You've been promoted to senior agent. You lead investigations now. Younger agents look to you the way you used to look at the agents ahead of you. You try to be honest with them about what this work actually is, not to discourage them, because the ones who are right for it need the truth more than they need a sales pitch. Level 6. The Supervisor. You're 42, Supervisory Special Agent. You run a squad of 12 agents in a major field office. Your job is no longer to work cases directly. Your job is to manage the people who work cases, to allocate resources, to brief the special agent in charge, to make decisions under pressure with incomplete information and no guarantee that you're right, to protect your agents when headquarters second-guesses them, and to correct your agents when they make mistakes before those mistakes become problems. The paperwork is enormous. The bureaucracy is real and sometimes suffocating. You spend more hours in meetings than you ever imagined when you were a new agent who just wanted to work cases. But you also understand now that this layer is what makes everything else possible. Someone has to make the calls that protect the investigation and the agents and the integrity of the Bureau. You've lost 2 agents to burnout in the last 3 years. Good agents. People you respected and relied on. The job takes what it takes, and some people reach their limit before others. And there is no shame in that. You watch your squad carefully. You know the signs. When someone starts to slip, you address it directly and without judgment because you've felt the edges of it yourself, and you know that acknowledging it early is the only way through. You believe in what this organization does, not blindly, with full awareness of its history and its failures and the gap that sometimes exists between its ideals and its actions. But you believe in the mission, and after 20 years, you still think it matters. Level 7. The Assistant Director. You're 51. Assistant Director of a major FBI division. You brief the director. You testify before congressional committees. You oversee hundreds of agents across dozens of field offices. The decisions you make affect operations you'll never directly see. The investigations you authorize will take years to complete, and by the time they result in prosecutions, you may have moved on to something else entirely. This is the nature of work at this level. You set direction. You allocate resources. You make policy, you hire people, and sometimes you have to let people go, and both of those things carry weight. You think about the 8-year-old who watched FBI agents on television and wrote the word Quantico on a piece of paper and kept it in a desk drawer. That child had no idea what this would actually look like, the complexity of it, the weight of it, the marriages that didn't survive it, the moments you weren't there for because the work required you somewhere else, the ways it would ask you to give up things you didn't know you were giving up until they were already gone, and also the ways it would give you things you couldn't have found anywhere else, a sense of purpose that doesn't fade with age. Work that genuinely matters in a way that's difficult to explain to people who haven't felt it. Colleagues who became something closer than friends because they are the only people who truly understand what this life costs and what it gives back. You've been a special agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation for 26 years. You carry your credentials in the same type of case they gave you at Quantico when you were 25 years old, and you raised your right hand and took an oath. You still mean every word of it. Every single word. Somewhere right now, an 8-year-old is watching the news and seeing federal agents walk out of a building carrying boxes of evidence, and something is shifting inside them that they can't quite name yet. Most kids who feel that pull find something else. You followed it for 26 years through everything it asked of you, and it was everything you thought it would be, and nothing like you imagined, and you wouldn't change a single day.